told stories to one another in much the same way since ancient times. An audience watches and listens while one or more person tells a story. It's a mode of communication that we are intimately familiar with, a way of sharing our experiences with one another that we've been indoctrinated into beginning in early childhood. The technology of the digital age is changing the way that we perceive the world around us. How we experience storytelling is also undergoing change. From the passive type of experience with which we're all familiar to one that is interactive, real-time, immersive, and telepresent. When I began making film, it was actually shot on film, using my family's Super 8 movie camera and my siblings and friends as the stars, and sets that were made out of discarded cardboard boxes and whatever else we had laying around. I would shoot rolls of film that had to be sent away for processing, which took weeks. When I got the developed film back, I would carefully edit it all together using a razor blade and cellophane tape strips. And then I would invite people over to view the fruits of my labor. The availability of relatively inexpensive video camcorders was a game changer. But at the time, the quality of video was nowhere as good as that of film, and producing a decent quality edit from videotape was difficult without expensive equipment. Digital filmmaking allows the flexibility with shooting and editing and post-processing and computer-generated imagery that was difficult or impossible with film or analog videotape. The current state of the art for creating a film involves software running on a PC. This software has a timeline onto which the bits and pieces, the media that are going to be used in the film, are placed. These are things like your video, your photos, audio, music, titles, whatever. They're placed in order on the timeline in the order that you want them to appear in the film. Once I'm finished editing, I can render the timeline out to a video file that can then be viewed by others. When I make a documentary film, it's a snapshot in time of people and places and events. It doesn't change or update as people and places change. It doesn't update as new events occur. Once the film is done, the story is fixed. And it can only be experienced in one way, the way that I wanted you to experience it. If I want to update a story with recent events, I have to go in and re-edit the film and then republish it. Modern video production techniques, the web and streaming media, has made this process faster and easier, but not automatic. It's still a manual process. Many modern websites are built and managed using software that allows you to use a word processor-like interface to create and edit the content on the site. To you, the content creator, what you seem to be doing when you create a new page to hold your story is you are typing in your text, adding your video and photos, and then once you have it the way that you want it, you click Save, and voila, there it is, the web page that you just created. Behind the scenes, what you actually did was you input the various bits and pieces And then you instructed the system in how those pieces were going to come together to create the page, the story that you want to tell. So your page does not exist in the system as a completed thing. Rather, it exists as bits and pieces scattered about in the database, waiting for someone to click on the link that will take them to that page, at which time the system assembles all the bits and pieces and renders the page to show to the viewer. In this way, a modern web page is similar to a film in that both are composed of the various pieces that will make the completed thing, and those pieces have to be experienced in a particular order that's relevant to the story. With one important difference: the web page is dynamic. That is, the page doesn't exist until the link is clicked and all the bits and pieces are put together. Thus, one of those pieces can be modified or a new piece added without having to re-edit the entire thing. In both cases, what the storyteller is providing is the intent. That is, the intent to tell a specific story and the instructions for how to put those pieces together to tell that story. As we build websites, share video on YouTube, create posts on social media, and put ourselves out there in ways various and sundry, we are contributing to an ever-growing body of content that not only tells our individual stories, but is creating a crowdsourced epic of the human experience. So, with a film, you can pull together various types of media to create a story, but it's not easy to update once it's done. Web pages allow you to create dynamic stories and even interactive stories, but it's still a manual process, both to create and edit. Social media and sharing platforms are making us all participants in a crowdsourced media collection effort. But how do we tease stories out of that vast sea of information, if not by manually and laboriously going out and finding those pieces and pulling them together into some kind of narrative? In the 1950s, researchers in the field of machine learning thought that it would be a relatively straightforward process to replicate human cognitive processes in a machine. The pop science of the day told us that intelligent robots, to serve our every whim, were right around the corner. And while today we have non-intelligent robots working in manufacturing, assembling things of all kinds, those intelligent robots that would cook and clean the house and babysit are still not here yet. Artificial intelligence, on the other hand, is being built into the things we use every day. Our phones can recognize our faces. Our devices are getting better and better at understanding our speech. And research that's been ongoing for a number of years is producing programs that can read and summarize the news, watch video, or describe what's being shown in a photograph almost as well as a human. Instant translation from one language to another is possible today, and has even been used in some online gaming platforms with interesting if somewhat mixed results. But machine translation will continue to improve, and one day language will no longer be a barrier to sharing knowledge and experience. But back to storytelling. In 2018, at the Sundance Film Festival, the startup company Fable debuted the first chapter in its interactive virtual reality story, Wolves in the Walls, whose main character, 8-year-old Lucy, is an AI. To experience the story, the viewer dons VR gear and is inserted into the story as Lucy's imaginary friend. Understand, this is not a high-tech version of choose your own journey, where you get to make some decisions about which way the story is going to go at certain predetermined points. Lucy engages you, and you her. You have unscripted interactions with her, and she has unscripted emotional responses. The AI functions within the confines of her own programming and within the framework of this human-created story. And with some very clever sleight of hand by the creators, she provides an intelligent, interactive experience for the viewer. It's an amazing first step in AI-based storytelling, but the character is the AI, not the storyteller. AI-based storytelling is also under development and will one day become commonplace. With humans building the framework of a story and the AIs to go out and find the media and pull it all together, dynamic stories can be created, and those stories could grow and change over time. And while I think that humans will always be needed to create stories for other humans, it would be an incredibly useful tool to have an AI to assist in the process. For example, if you're like me, you probably have hard drives and DVDs filled with photos and video that you've shot over the years. It would be really useful to be able to say to my computer, show me a story about my daughter's 8th birthday. And then the AI that lives in my computer would go out and find all of that media and pull it together into the story that I've asked for. And then I could watch it. Social media is changing the way that we interact with one another. And technologies such as augmented reality and immersive virtual reality will fundamentally change the way that we experience our surroundings, both real and synthetic. Such technologies are also expanding the possibilities for interactive storytelling. That is, stories where you cease to be the passive observer and become a participant in the story. Coupled with multimedia, multilingual databases, and the AIs to manage them, the traditional storytelling paradigm will be forever changed, along with our expectations of how we experience story. In the future, going to a movie or visiting a website might more resemble a massively online multiplayer game than the passive experience we have today. Imagine putting on your VR gear and being present at the Battle of Winterfell instead of just watching it on a screen. In the far future, direct neural interfaces, that is, interfaces that form a direct connection between the brain and the machine, will allow us to live those stories with all of the sensation of being physically present. As a filmmaker, I believe that everyone has a story to tell. But creating film is a labor-intensive, time-consuming process. And for this reason, many stories will remain untold, for the simple reason that there aren't enough storytellers to tell them. AI-based storytelling has the potential to bridge this gap and bring to light stories of people and places and cultures that would have been lost to time and human experience. In closing, I'd like to leave you with a thought regarding AI. As we go down this road of creating intelligent machines, I have to wonder, will they dream? And if so, will their dreams be our stories? Or will they leave us behind? And like their human creators, embark upon their own vast and endless voyage of imagination. Thank you.